Logan Zane hadn't planned on crashing a gala not in 1,000 years, but when your 6-year-old daughter needs a new inhaler, and your second job cancels your shift without warning, you do what you have to. He adjusted the too-tight collar of the waiter uniform he borrowed from a friend and slipped through the back entrance of the Carlton Grand Ballroom, praying no one noticed he didn't belong. Everything in the room screamed money. Chandeliers the size of small planets sparkled overhead. Women in gowns that probably cost more than his entire rent bill floated through the hall, clinking champagne glasses and tossing back laughter like it was nothing. He just needed 10 minutes. Get in, grab a few past hors d'oeuvres, maybe a bottle of champagne, then sneak out and sell them to the guys at the poker club who'd pay anything to feel fancy. But then he saw her. She was standing alone by the edge of the marble staircase, one silver heel in her hand, the other dangling from her foot. Her dress shimmered under the lights, deep navy, elegant, but not loud. Her long dark hair was pulled into a loose twist, and her face, her face looked like someone had painted strength into every line of it. Logan was halfway across the room before he even realized he was moving. "You look like you just lost a fight with your shoes," he said. The woman looked up, startled, then let out a laugh that cracked straight through his chest. More like a war. These things weren't made for walking. He crouched beside her and offered his hand. "Mind if I help?" She paused for a moment. "You're not a waiter." "Nope," he gave her a grin. "Just a dumb guy who knows how to fix a broken strap." There was a beat of silence before she gave him her foot. "You're not dumb, you're brave, or maybe a little crazy." "Can't it be both?" he joked, inspecting the strap and twisting it gently back into place. "There. Give it a try." She stood, tested it, and nodded. "You might have just saved my night." "I doubt I saved anything," he said, standing with her. "But if there's a prize for most random shoe hero, I'll take it." She laughed again, softer this time. "What's your name?" "Logan." "Logan Zane." "Peyton Summers," she said, extending her hand. Her grip was firm, but her eyes lingered on him like she was trying to figure something out. He didn't recognize the name. Just assumed she was another rich guest at a rich party in a rich world he didn't belong to. "Well, Peyton, I should probably get going before someone realizes I'm not supposed to be here." She tilted her head. "You're not," he shrugged. "Let's just say I'm moonlighting as a party crasher." Instead of looking alarmed, she smiled. "Then it's a good thing I like rebels," he chuckled, but his hand reached for the back of his neck. "Seriously, though, I'm not dangerous or anything. I just needed a little help tonight." She studied him. "You look like someone who's carrying a lot on your shoulders." Logan's smile faded. "I've got a daughter, 6 years old. Her name's Scarlett. She's got asthma. Her inhaler broke this morning and the pharmacy wanted some ridiculous price for a new one. I'm just trying to make ends meet." Peyton blinked, her expression shifting. "Where is she now?" "With my neighbor. He's great with her, wouldn't leave her alone, not for a second." She nodded slowly, then glanced around the room. "You know what, Logan? I was about to ditch this place anyway. Want to get out of here," he blinked. "You don't even know me." "I know enough. You helped me when you didn't have to." "That's rare in this room," he hesitated. "I've got maybe $40 to my name. I can't afford. I didn't ask you to pay," she said, her voice warm but firm. "Come on, there's a diner down the street. Greasy food, no suits. What do you say?" He grinned. "Lead the way, Cinderella." They left through the side door, Peyton slipping her heels off and carrying them in one hand. The cold air hit them like a blast, but neither of them cared. As they walked, she asked about Scarlett. He told her about the nights he stayed up painting murals in her tiny bedroom, the time he made a dollhouse out of cardboard, the way she called him her superdad. Peyton listened, really listened. When they reached the diner, she ordered pancakes and coffee like it was the most natural thing in the world. No pretense, no ego. Over sticky syrup and bad coffee, they talked for hours. "You ever think about doing something different?" she asked. Logan shrugged. "I've got dreams." "But dreams don't pay rent." "You'd be surprised," she said, her eyes dancing with something he couldn't quite name. By the time the sun started to rise, they were still in that booth laughing, sharing stories, completely oblivious to everything else. Logan walked her to her car, which was parked at a private valet garage. He stopped short when he saw the sleek black sports car waiting for her. "That yours?" She nodded, then glanced at him. "I should tell you something." He waited. I'm not just another guest at the gala. I'm the one who hosted it, his brow furrowed. Wait, you, she hesitated. I run Summers Global. We do a lot in tech, but we also own half the properties in that district. I'm a billionaire. Logan stared at her, speechless. I didn't tell you earlier because I wanted to know if you'd see me. Not the money, not the name, just me. He opened his mouth, closed it, then laughed under his breath. I fixed a billionaire's shoe and took her to a diner. You did, she said, stepping closer, and I haven't laughed that much in years. He looked at her, really looked. This is insane. Maybe, she said softly, but it feels right. She paused. Can I see you again? He nodded slowly. Yeah, I'd like that. She smiled, leaned in, and kissed his cheek. Then she got in her car and drove away, leaving Logan standing in the morning light with a stunned grin on his face and a heart that felt just a little bit fuller. What he didn't know was that Peyton Summers hadn't stopped thinking about him since, and she wasn't planning to. The next time Peyton saw Logan, he had paint on his hands and a grocery bag tucked under one arm. She hadn't planned on showing up at his building. But after 3 days of silence, 2 ignored phone calls, and 1 sleepless night replaying their conversation at the diner, she'd asked her driver to take her to the address she'd pulled from the emergency contact form he filled out at the gala's valet booth. The building was older, red brick with faded green shutters and a rusted fire escape that ran like crooked veins up the side. She counted 3 broken windows on her way in. She found him on the second-floor landing, just outside a narrow apartment door with peeling numbers and a welcome mat that had lost all its welcome. He looked up mid-turn of his key, surprised. I wasn't expecting company, he said, balancing the bag and wiping his hands on his jeans. I was gonna call. Things have been a little chaotic. I figured, she said, eyeing the streak of navy blue paint across his wrist. Is now a bad time? He hesitated, then opened the door and gestured her in. It's never a bad time for someone who brings calm with her. The apartment was small but warm. A sketch of a treehouse was taped to the fridge. A row of children's books leaned sideways on a shelf. A handmade dream catcher hung above the couch, its feathers dancing in the breeze from the cracked window. From the bedroom, a small voice called out, "Daddy, did you get the cheese crackers?" Logan set the bag down. I got the cheese crackers, baby, and apple juice too. He turned to Peyton. That's Scarlett. She's been under the weather. I didn't want to leave her too long. Of course, Peyton said, her voice softer now. Scarlett, he called again. We have a visitor. A moment later, a tiny girl with flushed cheeks and a mop of curly hair peeked out from the hallway. She wore oversized pajamas with unicorns on them and held a stuffed dinosaur under her arm. Peyton crouched to her level. Hi there, I'm Peyton. Scarlett blinked at her. Are you a doctor? No, Peyton said with a small smile. But I do know how to make a mean paper airplane. That earned a toothy grin. Logan reached for the grocery bag. You want to sit down? I was just about to make lunch. I actually came to talk, Peyton said, glancing at the couch. He nodded and gestured for her to take a seat, then handed Scarlett a juice pouch and disappeared into the kitchen, leaving them alone. Scarlett climbed onto the couch beside her, tucking her feet under her. Daddy says you're fancy. Does he? Yeah. He says you drive a car that looks like it belongs in outer space. Peyton laughed quietly. Well, outer space is a stretch, but it is fast. Scarlett leaned closer. Do you know how to drive a spaceship? I'm working on it. When Logan returned with 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, Scarlett took one and wandered back to her room, humming some song Peyton didn't recognize. He sat across from her. She likes you. She's incredible, Peyton said. You're doing a great job with her. Some days it feels like I'm holding everything together with duct tape and hope. She looked at him carefully. I came because I want to offer you something. He tensed. Peyton, not charity, she interrupted. An opportunity. At Summers Global, we've been developing a community arts program. It's still in its early stages, but we need someone to head the children's mural project. Your name came to mind, he blinked. You want me to work for you? I want to work with you, she said. It's paid, flexible hours. And it could grow into something bigger. I haven't done anything like that before, not professionally. Your apartment says otherwise, she said, nodding toward the painted canvases leaning against the wall. You have talent. Real talent. I wouldn't offer this if I didn't believe in what you could bring. He looked away, processing. I've always told myself art was a luxury I couldn't afford. Maybe it's time to stop thinking in survival terms and start thinking in legacy. He studied her, like he was trying to find the catch. There's no trick, she added. You don't owe me anything, but if you say yes, I'll make sure the first project is something Scarlett can be proud of. He exhaled slowly. All right, I'll do it, but only if I can choose the wall. You'll have full creative control, she said. We'll sign everything officially, no handouts, he offered a slow nod. Okay. They sat in silence for a moment, the quiet settling around them like a shared secret. Then he said, You didn't have to come here. Most people in your world would have sent someone else. I'm not most people. No, he said, meeting her eyes. You're not. Before she could respond, Scarlett ran back into the room waving a crumpled piece of paper. Daddy, look, I drew you and me and a flying cat. Logan took it with a grin. You're a regular little Picasso. Did you draw Peyton too? He asked. Scarlett nodded. She's the one with the crown. Peyton glanced at the image. There she was in crayon, a stick figure with a golden crown and sparkles around her head. I guess I'm royalty now, she said. You always were, Logan murmured, folding the drawing gently in his hands. He didn't notice Peyton watching him, but she was. And what she saw only made her more certain she wasn't falling for Logan Zane because he was charming or kind or impossibly handsome. She was falling for him because he saw the world not for what it was, but for what it could be, and made sure his daughter saw it too. The warehouse wall stretched 30 feet wide and 15 feet high, weathered brick with chipped paint and old graffiti tags faded by time. Logan stood at the base of it, arms crossed, studying the surface like a puzzle he was close to solving. Bright orange cones cordoned off the alley, and a few curious pedestrians had already stopped to watch from behind the ropes. 2 interns from Summers Global waited nearby with equipment and blank permission forms. But Logan wasn't ready to sign anything until he really saw it. Peyton leaned against the black SUV across the street, sunglasses perched on her nose, a coffee in hand. She watched him silently, resisting the urge to offer input. He hadn't asked for her opinion, and she respected that. After several long minutes, he turned to her. I want to turn it into a storybook, he said. She pushed her sunglasses up onto her head. A literal one, not exactly. A visual story, left to right. A little girl and her father building a rocket ship out of junk. Each panel shows them adding pieces: an umbrella, a toaster, a bicycle wheel until they launch into the sky. Peyton stepped forward. That's brilliant. I want it to be full of color. Bright, chaotic, impossible, like the kind of dream you don't want to wake up from. You'll have complete freedom, she said. We'll cover supplies, scaffolding, clean up whatever you need. He hesitated. These kids in the neighborhood. They need to see something that makes them look up. Peyton nodded. Then give them a reason. They shook on it. No fanfare, just a quiet agreement between 2 people who had started to trust each other more than they expected. Over the next week, the alley transformed. Logan worked every day after lunch. Once Scarlett was settled with his neighbor, who'd agreed to watch her for a few hours a day in exchange for help repairing his fence. He painted until dusk, headphones in, old music playing Carole King, Sam Cooke, and a few songs from Scarlett's favorite cartoons. Peyton stopped by often. Sometimes she brought food gyros from the corner truck, hot pretzels from a vendor near her office. Once she showed up with a second-hand telescope she found in a vintage shop and handed it to him without a word. They didn't talk about what was happening between them, not directly, but it was there, in the way he lit up when she laughed. In the way she lingered even after her driver reminded her she was late for a meeting. One afternoon, as the mural neared completion, Peyton stood beside him, her heels abandoned in the dust and her blazer slung over her shoulder. Her hair was down for once, wind-tousled and sunlit. I don't think I've ever seen you still, she said. He dipped his brush into a jar of yellow and added a streak of light to the rocket's flame. Stillness makes me think too much. Is that a bad thing? Depends on the thoughts, he said without looking at her. She leaned against the scaffolding. You know, I've spent most of my life pacing boardrooms and signing contracts no one reads, but watching you turn this wall into something alive, it's the first time I've felt like I'm building something that matters. He finally looked at her. You've built empires. Empires crumble, she said. But this stays. Logan set the brush down. Why me, Peyton? Why not you? There are hundreds of artists out there, talented, trained, connected. But you chose the guy who couldn't afford a new inhaler last week. His voice wasn't bitter, it was honest. She walked toward him, slow and deliberate. Because when I saw you holding your daughter's hand, I saw someone who would give everything to make her world beautiful. And I want someone like that in mine. He stared at her, the paint on his hands forgotten. I don't have anything to offer you, no penthouse, no tailored suits, just this, he gestured to the wall. I don't want a man who can buy me the world, she said. I want the one who can make me feel like I already have it. A heavy pause settled between them. Then Logan stepped down from the scaffolding. He walked until they were inches apart, close enough to see the flecks of green in her eyes. I'm scared of what this is, he said quietly. Of what it means for Scarlett, of what it means for me. So am I, she whispered. But that doesn't mean we stop. He didn't reply. He just reached out and tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers lingering on her cheek a heartbeat longer than necessary. She leaned into his touch, the moment held. Then, behind them, a small voice called out, "Daddy," they turned. Scarlett was running down the alley in light-up sneakers, a paper crown on her head and a crayon drawing clutched in her hand. Behind her trailed Mrs. Delaney, the neighbor, waving with a tired smile. I told her she could come see the painting, the older woman said. It's okay, Logan said, crouching to catch Scarlett as she flung her arms around his neck. I made you a picture, she said, handing it to him. It's us. In space. He unfolded it, smiling as he studied the 3 stick figures floating next to a rocket. One of them wore a crown. Is that you? He asked. Nope, she said. That's Peyton. He looked up. Peyton blinked, caught off guard. Why am I wearing a cape? Because you saved our spaceship, Scarlett said matter-of-factly. Logan met Peyton's eyes. Neither of them said anything, but in that moment something shifted, not because they kissed, not because they confessed anything, but because a little girl had drawn a version of their future, and for the first time, neither of them wanted to erase it. Logan stood at the edge of the rooftop, wind tugging at his hoodie as he looked out over the city. The mural was finished. It glowed even at night, lit by solar-powered spotlights Summers Global had quietly installed after hours. The launch scene was bold and full of movement, the rockets trail a swirl of colors that stretched across the bricks like a dream breaking free. Behind him, Peyton stepped through the rooftop door, her heels clicking against the concrete before she slipped them off and carried them in one hand. I figured I'd find you up here. He didn't turn right away, just nodded. Didn't think anyone else knew about this spot. I asked Scarlett, she said. She said Daddy goes there when he wants to feel taller than the buildings. That made him laugh, but it was quiet, thoughtful. He looked over his shoulder at her. She says things like that. Like she's been here before and remembers everything. Peyton moved beside him, the skyline flickering below them in a sea of lights. She's right, though. It does feel different up here. Logan took a breath. Tomorrow's the press event. You sure about this? She gave him a look. You're the one who told me to stop hiding behind the boardroom. This is me stepping out. He glanced at her, eyebrows raised. You're about to introduce a community mural project led by a single dad who used to work night shifts fixing broken vending machines. Not exactly standard for a billion-dollar company. Exactly why it matters, she said. What we've built is what I want Summers Global to stand for, not just innovation, heart. He turned fully toward her. You're not worried about what people will say. I've heard worse, she said, her voice even. And besides, I've never cared much for approval that comes at the cost of honesty. Logan looked at her for a long moment. You really don't do things halfway, do you? I don't know how to, she said. And I don't want to start now. He studied her, this woman who'd somehow stepped into his world without asking to change it, and yet had done exactly that. I think I'm in love with you, he said, the words raw and unfiltered. She didn't flinch. I was wondering when you'd say it. He blinked. You knew. I knew the moment you patched up my shoe like it was some priceless artifact, she said. But I needed you to say it when you were ready. He stepped closer, the space between them shrinking to nothing. I'm scared of what this could become. She reached for his hand. Then let's be scared together. He kissed her then, not rushed or uncertain, but with all the weight of everything unspoken between them. The city fell away. The rooftop disappeared. It was just her, warm and steady in his arms, like she'd always been meant to fit there. When they pulled apart, Peyton rested her forehead gently against his. "I have something for you," she said. He tilted his head. "Is it another telescope?" "No," she said, slipping a folded envelope from her coat pocket. "It's a lease for a studio space, 2 blocks from Scarlett's school. Light from 3 sides, it's yours if you want it." His eyes widened. "Peyton, there's no catch, no strings. I bought the building last year and never figured out what to do with the top floor. Now I know." He opened the envelope and scanned the documents. Everything was clean, formal in his name. "I've never had anything like this before," he admitted. "A place just for me." "Now you do," she said. "You deserve more than temporary fixes. You deserve permanence." He looked at her, overwhelmed. "You're changing my life." "No," she said. "I'm just giving you the space to live the one you were always meant to." The next day, the press event was packed. Reporters lined the sidewalk outside the mural, cameras flashing as Peyton stepped to the podium. She wore a tailored black suit, understated jewelry, and the confidence of someone who no longer had anything to prove. "This mural is the first of many," she told the crowd. "And it was created by an artist who reminded me what creativity looks like when it's born from love, not ego." Logan stood to the side, holding Scarlett's hand. She had insisted on wearing her astronaut costume from Halloween, complete with glitter-covered boots. When Peyton gestured for them to join her, Logan hesitated, but Scarlett tugged his hand. "Come on, Daddy. You're the rocket." They walked toward her, and the crowd clapped as he stepped in front of the mural with his daughter. Peyton handed Scarlett a tiny pair of child-safe scissors, and the little girl cut the ribbon with a squeal of delight. Later, as the sun began to dip behind the buildings, Logan pulled Peyton aside, away from the noise. "You know what I've realized?" "What?" "I got into that gala looking for a way to survive, and I found someone who made me want to build something worth surviving for." She smiled, the kind of smile that held no secrets. "That's good. Because I'm not going anywhere." He kissed her again, slower this time, like it was the first chapter of something new. Months passed. Logan's studio opened, and soon after, so did his first children's art workshop. Summers Global funded the expansion, but the soul belonged to Logan and the kids who filled the space with laughter and paint-stained dreams. Scarlett's health improved. Her drawings became more detailed. One day she handed him a picture of a house with a garden, a telescope on the roof, and 3 figures standing on the porch. He framed it. Peyton moved into the apartment next door, refusing to buy a penthouse when the home she wanted was already here. They spent Saturdays at the park, Sundays on the rooftop, and every night building a life neither of them had expected. But both had finally found, not in power, not in money, but in each other. The sky above the rooftop garden was painted in soft amber as twilight settled over the city. Strings of delicate lights wove through the trellises, casting a warm glow over the guests below. Laughter echoed between the flower beds, mingling with the hum of a live saxophone drifting from the far corner. Tables were set with golden accents, fresh peonies, and flickering candles. It wasn't just an event, it was a celebration. Peyton stood near the edge of the terrace, her dress a soft champagne silk that caught the light like water. She watched Scarlett spin in a circle nearby, her full skirt fluttering, a crown of fresh daisies perched slightly off-center atop her curls. Logan was a few feet away, talking to an elderly woman with fire in her eyes and paint on her hands, one of the local artists from the expansion program. He looked completely at ease, like he belonged here now. Peyton didn't interrupt. She let herself take it in, not just the view, but the feeling. There was no chaos, no strategic angles, no headlines hanging over her head, just family, just peace. A soft voice broke her thoughts. "I was told the woman behind all this had impeccable timing." She turned, smiling as a tall man in a slate blue suit approached. "Reed," she said warmly. "You really came." Reed Dawson, her company's lead counsel and one of her oldest confidants, offered a nod. "I wouldn't miss it. You've done something rare. You built something that actually matters." I didn't do it alone, she replied, her gaze sliding toward Logan, who was now crouched beside Scarlett, helping her tie her shoe. Reed followed her eyes. He's the real deal, isn't he? No pretense, no mask. Just exactly what he is, Reed's tone sobered. You're not afraid of what the board will say about this. I've already spoken to them. The foundation's funding is secure, and I've made it clear this is the direction we're moving in. They can either stand beside me or behind me. Reed exhaled. You're not the same woman I knew 5 years ago. I hope not, she said softly. The woman I was back then didn't know how to stop long enough to fall in love. Reed gave her shoulder a brief squeeze and nodded before moving off to greet others. Logan joined her a moment later, still brushing glitter from his sleeve. Your daughter decorated me. She's got good taste, Peyton teased, setting her hand on his chest and brushing a stray fleck from his collar. He leaned in, lowering his voice. You sure you're okay with all this attention? Half these people work for you. I'm not hiding you, she said. I'm proud of you, of us. He tilted his head. Then maybe now's the right time. Peyton blinked. Right time for what? Logan reached into the pocket of his jacket and pulled out a small wooden box, not velvet, not polished. Just something hand-carved, smooth and simple, her breath caught. I don't have a yacht or a private island or a publicist to stage this moment, he began, but I do have a life that's better with you in it. I have mornings that start with your voice and nights that end with your hand in mine. I have a daughter who already thinks you hung the moon, and I have a heart that's never wanted anything more than it wants you. He opened the box. Inside was a ring unlike any she'd ever seen. A delicate band with a single sapphire, a deep, rich blue that shimmered like dusk. I didn't choose a diamond, he said. I chose this because it reminded me of the night I first saw you, standing under those chandeliers, barefoot, laughing like you weren't supposed to be alone. Peyton's throat tightened. You remembered the color. I remember everything, he said. And I want to keep remembering. With you. Every day. So here it is, plain and simple. Will you marry me, Peyton Summers? Her answer was a whispered yes, but it echoed louder than the cheers that erupted around them when she threw her arms around him. Later that evening, after the last guest had disappeared into the night, Logan, Peyton, and Scarlett sat on the rooftop's wooden swing bench, wrapped in a thick blanket. Scarlett was tucked between them, drowsy from too much dancing and cake. Do you think stars can hear wishes? She asked, blinking up at the sky. I think they can, Peyton said, her voice low. Scarlett yawned. Then I'm going to wish for this day to happen again. Logan kissed the top of her head. We'll make sure of it. As the city below began to sleep, they stayed there, the three of them, swaying gently under the stars. In the months that followed, the mural program expanded to 3 new neighborhoods. Logan's studio became a beloved fixture in the community, with kids lining up every Saturday to learn how to turn their stories into color. His first gallery show debuted 6 original works inspired by Scarlett's sketches, and the opening night sold out in under an hour. Peyton stepped back from daily operations, shifting her role to chair of the board so she could spend her mornings in the garden, her afternoons at the studio, and her evenings at home. Their wedding was held in that very rooftop garden, surrounded by family, friends, and the city skyline that had brought them together. Scarlett walked Peyton down the aisle, her crown of daisies replaced with a tiara made of tiny painted stars. There were no fireworks, no paparazzi. Just vows whispered beneath string lights, a kiss that promised forever, and 2 hearts that had found something rarer than wealth. They found a home, in each other, where nothing was borrowed and everything was real.